Any other comments and stuff? Yeah.
Wayne, I like your point about the change in South Louisiana. But I also think South Louisiana is changing culturally beyond religion. For a long time, it was a very insular part of the state, very poor transportation, and because of the French heritage that it had, the racial divide in that culture was much less than in the rest of the South. It had no particular slavery tradition.
No, you're exactly right.
Anything else.
Yeah.
What's happening in the last 30 years is that it's becoming much more mainstream.
More fluent, more mainstream.
More mainstream, and just with television and more communication and more transportation and you know, it's sort of losing that overall cultural difference, and it's just becoming more like the rest of the state. I agree with your observation though about the church, but I think it's also equally this sort of cultural shift into more than just the mainstream.
And what you're hitting home is something that because of the topic of this, I gave short shrift to. And this is important. And what you're saying is very important. In fact, I'm one of these that wants to say something, and I was about to say insular when you said insular. So I mean, I really agree with it. You're right. There's more to it. But I think there's even more to it. I think that the suburbanization of the South, you had people who, in What's the Matter with Kansas, might have been working class, but they became middle class. And they're voting Republican because of that, not because of cultural issues. And you might see some of that stuff, and you know, going with the lack of the insularity becoming more like the rest of the South, where cultural issues are important. In addition to that, people always vote a couple of income brackets higher than they are because they identify. You know, although things might be changing, but they identify a couple. And Cajun South Louisiana and much of the rest of the South might have moved up a couple of income brackets, and just enough that they can identify with a couple of higher income brackets. So I think you're saying sort of the most interesting thing of the three. It's culture, you know, the Catholic Church changed on the one hand. That's what I said, and the other thing I said was the economic thing. But you're saying what I like to talk about, at least the first part, is that the insularity of South Louisiana, the lack of slavery and all that, and I like to do the geography thing. I mean, it's, you know, Northern European Americans, Southern European Americans, African Americans, and there's more similarities on a lot of things, and the whole race thing just didn't work as well there. But as sort of the new divided subdivisions and all that arrive, as they become more American in that sense, Cajun South Louisiana becomes a lot like the rest of the South. The rest of the South, therefore, culturally, more Republican, and like the rest of America, economically, you know. So I think that's a great.
When you were talking about the Catholic religious aspects in the last 30 years, I started thinking about 9/11 and whether there is any, I don't know any statistics, but is there a great number of our young men in the military from South Louisiana that would be affecting that kind of religious conservative connect?
That's a great question. I know the South is disproportionately. That's a great question, and I didn't talk about 9/11 at all, and that certainly had an effect on politics, but I don't think within a bigger context. That's a great question. I don't know. I know that would be a Southern phenomenon. I think that would actually feed into what he was saying. It's like it makes it become less and less insular. And as all the South, including South Louisiana, is going to world war, it makes it less insular and, less unique to the rest of the South. I think that right now you're just talking about. That's kind of the way I always have to put things in little boxes in my head, and that's kind of the way that's the box I throw it in.
Can you talk about the homeschool movement? I've read some about Patrick Henry College and,
No, I can't.
no?
I'm sorry. No, I don't know that much about
It's
it.
very interesting.
Okay, well,
It's all feeding.
It's worth knowing about. Well, I've read about it. I mean, it was originally sort of a family conservative, and then it became sort of a, I hate to, children of the 60s movement, and that's all very interesting. I mean, I don't know. But since I don't have any kids, I don't know. Dog, cats, nothing. I'm insular.
What do you think, or what do you know about the new movement across religious traditions, both conservative and more liberal, of the new evangelicals that are really focusing on issues of poverty, particularly environment, particularly given the current economic crisis?
I find it
Wondering
fascinating.
what's going to happen with that?
No, I find it fascinating. I mean, I don't know more than you would. I probably know less than you would. But I do think, I mean, that would feed into there's something going on right now that we're entering a new era of, especially if this election is a change election. Now, we might wait until next election to be a change election. But I think the connection between religion and politics is changing right along those lines. We might not see it this election. We've certainly seen the beginning of it this election, the next election, and the next election, depending on whether or not, because that would slow that down if he didn't. Well, it's 1 o'clock, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Wayne. Just a reminder, our next Food for Thought will be on October 23rd, and it will be Dr. Cecil Eubanks, and he will be talking about church and state, the new paganism. And it will be in this room. So a very provocative title. Look forward to hearing Cecil about that. Please join us again for that. This event is put on by University Presbyterian Church and University Presbyterian Campus Ministry, so we appreciate you coming out. I'm going to switch hats briefly to mention one other event. On October 21st, the Interfaith Federation of Baton Rouge will be holding our annual prayer breakfast. The speaker for that will be Adam Taylor from Sojourners Magazine. He's the political and social justice coordinator for Sojourners. He's also the associate pastor at Shiloh Baptist Church in Washington, D.C. So it will be an excellent event. I have some tickets to the prayer breakfast if anyone is interested, or you can talk to me for more information. So thank you for being here.